Hello kids, welcome to the dreamy journey. Today we are going to tell a new story about a cat you cannot see, who paints your dreams in the air while you sleep. Imagine that. Somewhere out there in the hush of midnight, while your town dozes and even the moon is yawning behind a cloud, something soft and silent is moving across the rooftops. Not a breeze, not a bird, something with paws. The street lamps are flickering gently. Curtain sways in the breeze. All is quiet, except for the very faint sound of tiny, barely their paw steps tapping across the shingles above your window. And in the dark, if you squint just right, or maybe don't squint at all, you might catch the shimmer of a tail that isn't there. Most people are asleep, curled up in warm blankets, dreaming of dinosaurs or pancakes or swimming with whales. But someone else is just beginning their work. High above the sleeping world, something invisible stretches a paw toward the sky. A faint glow unfurls, swirls, shimmers. It drips with stardust. The wind holds its breath. The stars lean in closer. Tonight is a painting night. And the painter, not a person, not a fairy, but a cat. Cat with no name yet. Cat you've never seen. Or almost never. You'll see what I mean soon. Let's stay very quiet. The story is just beginning. And if you're lucky, you might feel the brush of her tail tickling the dream right out of your ear. She moves like mist, like the sigh of a cloud when no one is listening. You wouldn't see her if you passed her in the hallway. You wouldn't hear her if she tiptoed right behind your chair. She is the whisper between footsteps, the shimmer just before a sneeze. She is the invisible cat. No one knows where she came from. Maybe she was born from a moonbeam, or perhaps from the laughter of a child dreaming for the first time. What we do know is this. Every night, after the last goodnight kiss has faded and the house creaks softly into slumber, she arrives. Without fail. Without sound. Without ever being seen. She's not your ordinary cat. She doesn't chase mice or knock cups off tables. Though who's to say she hasn't tried? Instead, she perches on rooftops and windowsills, tail curling like smoke. And in her mouth, she carries her most precious treasure, a paintbrush that glows faintly, as if it were made from melted stars. Sometimes, if you're half asleep and the moonlight is angled just so, you might spot her outline against the sky. Not by shape, but by absence. The way the stars curve around her. The way the shadows pause before touching her paws. She doesn't need to be seen. She is the night's best-kept secret. Her presence is a feeling. A soft prickle at the back of your neck. A flutter just behind your eyes when you're slipping into sleep. The kind of feeling that makes you murmur, "Was someone just here?" And if you listen closely, so very closely, you might hear the tiniest sound in the world. A purr wrapped in moonlight. Her paintbrush is no ordinary tool. It is made from things you cannot find in stores or even in the deepest pocket of your imagination. Its handle is carved from the spine of a fallen comet, sleek and glowing faintly with every color you've ever dreamed of, and some you haven't. The bristles, a soft swirl of cloud whiskers, wind-whipped silver from the highest sky, and a single thread of golden hair from a star that wished itself into being. When she swishes it through the air, it leaves behind trails that flicker and twist, as though light itself has begun to dance. Sometimes it hums, sometimes it giggles, but mostly it just glows, quiet and warm like the first candle of evening. She holds it gently in her teeth, careful never to let it drop. Sometimes she perches on a chimney and paints loops into the air. Sometimes she walks along a clothesline, tail flicking, brush swooping, crafting a parade of shimmering shapes. A whale made of waltzing bubbles, a clock that runs backwards, a teacup sprouting wings. Each stroke tells a story, though no one ever remembers them fully. That's the magic. Her paintings aren't meant to stay. They drift and curl, and then, like dreams, they fade with the morning light. No one can bottle them, no one can steal them. They are gifts that vanish softly, like breath on glass. To watch her work, if you could, would be like watching music. Her brush dances, floats, sometimes taps 3 times like she's signing her name in air. She paints for one reason and one reason only: to make dreams bloom. And tonight, her brush is tingling with something new. Someone just maybe is watching. The town below is fast asleep. Doors are locked, toys are tucked away, and the last lullaby has faded into the walls. Yet above it all, the invisible cat begins her quiet masterpiece. She leaps from chimney to chimney, silent as moonlight, her paintbrush trailing a soft ribbon of glow behind her. And wherever that ribbon falls, above rooftops, along tree branches, across telephone wires, dreams begin to shimmer into shape. One house breathes gently in the dark, and above it, a herd of dream elephants trumpet silently, marching across the night. Another rooftop blooms with floating jellyfish, their tendrils pulsing with sleepy thoughts. And just above a bakery, a sleepy swirl of cookies and clouds spins slowly like a carousel made of crumbs and cream. Inside the bedrooms, children turn in their sleep. Smiles twitch on their faces. Their eyes flutter beneath closed lids, dancing to the rhythm of dreams they do not know are being painted right above their heads. A flick of the brush here, a flying book. A dot of light there. A fox riding a bicycle made of dandelions. Each one tailored to the secret stories sleeping in their hearts. The cat doesn't pause. She doesn't ask for thanks. This is what she does. This is what she is. She paints what can't be seen and disappears before anyone ever wakes. Her joy isn't in being noticed. It's in the giggles that escape from half-dreaming mouths, in the way small hands clutch pillows tighter as a dragon made of whipped cream swoops by their heads. And then mid-stroke she pauses. A breeze brushes her ear. 'Cause tonight, something feels different. A curtain has moved. Breath has changed. Pair of waking eyes is watching. Nora was not supposed to be awake. She had gone to bed like always, snug in her cozy lavender pajamas with stars on the sleeves. Her favorite blanket wrapped around her like a burrito. But something, a whisper, a tickle in the air, had made her eyelids flutter. Just enough. Just in time. She blinked once, then again, and sat up slowly, heart thumping. The room was quiet, full of soft shadows and silvery light from the half-open window. But something was shimmering. There on the edge of the glass, not quite real and not quite not, floated a ribbon of glowing color. It twisted lazily, like it had forgotten gravity existed, curling toward the moon. Nora rubbed her eyes. Still there. Not a dream. Not yet, anyway. She tiptoed across the room and pressed her fingers to the windowsill. The night air kissed her cheeks, cool and clean. Outside, rooftops glistened like whalebacks in the sea of night. And right there, just above the house across the street, something was moving. Shimmer. Flick. A paw. Nora squinted. She could almost see the outline of a tail swirling through the sky like calligraphy. And then, another flash. A glowing stroke curved across the stars, leaving behind a trail of light that faded slowly, like a sparkler underwater. Her breath caught in her throat. There was a cat. An invisible one, made visible only by the strange, shimmering things she left behind. And it was painting dreams. The cat leapt to another rooftop. Then another. Nora leaned farther out, her eyes wide with wonder. One glowing pawprint floated gently in the air. It hung just outside the window, as if inviting her to follow. She didn't hesitate. Nora's toes touched the cool wooden floor with barely a sound. The world was hushed, wrapped in a sleepy silence that made everything feel softer. She crept toward the door, one hand holding her blanket like a cape, the other brushing the air where the glowing paw print had hung moments before. It was gone now, but something lingered, a shimmer in the corner of her eye, like stardust still swirling in the air. Down the hallway she tiptoed, past the photos of her family and the crooked nightlight that always buzzed a little. The house groaned sleepily, but Nora didn't stop. The front door had somehow creaked open just enough to let in a slice of moonlight, just enough for a girl to slip through. Outside, the air felt different, thicker, dreamier. The kind of air you breathe only when you're on the edge of sleep or just waking from a nap full of strange, wonderful things. And then she saw them. Tiny paw prints floated just above the ground, like bubbles that had forgotten how to pop. Each one glowed a soft blue-white, pulsing gently. They led down the front steps, across the grass, and toward the neighbor's garden path. Nora followed, breath held, arms raised slightly like she was balancing on a dream. She passed a sleeping gnome statue, whose hat twitched as if it had dreamed itself into laughter. She ducked under a branch where fireflies had gathered like a chandelier. And all the while, the paw prints danced ahead, always just far enough to keep her wondering. Every few steps she'd pause and smile, because this wasn't a chase. It was an invitation. And wherever the invisible cat was going, Nora knew she was meant to follow. The glowing paw prints floated now not just along the ground, but up into the air like lazy bubbles carried on a breeze. Nora tilted her head, eyes wide. The prints weren't pressed into soil or stone. They hovered gently, twirling like tiny snowflakes made of light. Each one blinked in and out softly, marking a path that curved through the garden and into the night beyond. She reached out and touched one. It was warm, not hot, not cold, just a soft, tingly warmth like when someone whispers your name while you're half asleep. The paw print swirled once around her fingertip, then drifted away, joining the others as they danced through the air. Nora giggled, though she didn't know why. It was the kind of giggle that came from the chest, not the mouth. A dream giggle. Secret one. The prints led her through hedges and under archways that hadn't been there before. The neighborhood faded behind her, replaced by something older, wilder. The trees whispered like they remembered lullabies. A toad blinked from a mossy rock, then turned invisible. Nora didn't flinch. The world was shifting, but softly, kindly. She twirled once under a branch draped in moonflowers and caught a whiff of peppermint and marshmallow. The paw prints scattered ahead, dancing through the air like fireflies with paws. And then she saw it, through the mist, a gate. Tall, twisting, covered in vines. Beyond it, something glowed golden, like a lantern-lit garden waiting to be discovered. The paw prints gathered at the gate, hovering in place, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Nora stepped forward. She knew the rules had changed. And she was no longer walking through her neighborhood. She was walking through a dream. The gate creaked open as if it had been waiting just for her. Vines coiled back like they understood her presence, curling politely to the sides. Nora stepped through, her bare feet brushing soft moss that glowed faintly beneath each step. Before her stretched a hedge maze, but not like any she had seen in books or parks. The hedges were impossibly tall, reaching toward the stars. Their leaves shimmered with silver veins, and every now and then, a leaf would flutter softly even though there was no breeze. As she walked deeper into the maze, lanterns blinked into being above her, little floating globes that hovered in the air like sleepy fireflies. Each one lit her way, drifting slowly ahead, casting warm golden circles on the path below. Nora walked slowly, not afraid, just full of wonder. The maze didn't feel like a trap. Felt like a lullaby with walls. With every turn, something new appeared. An old teacup growing daisies, a grandfather clock gently ticking backward, a mirror that showed her as a cloud drifting in the sky. She smiled at that. The glowing pawprints remained, steady and sure, weaving left then right, sometimes doubling back in gentle loops as if the invisible cat had been dancing her way through the maze. From above, the whole place must have looked like a glowing ribbon twisting gently in the dark. Somewhere nearby, soft harp music began to play. It wasn't coming from anywhere, and yet it was everywhere. A melody made of moonlight and quiet questions. Nora hummed along, her voice barely a breath. And then, at the very center of the maze, she saw it. A warm golden light that pulsed gently with movement. Something was spinning there. Something impossible. Carousel made of clouds. The sky had become a canvas, and the invisible cat was its painter. Above the spinning cloud carousel, streaks of light twisted and curved like living ribbons. One swirl shaped itself into a sailing ship riding a wave of feathers. Another became a boy with tree branch arms planting stars into the soil. A third, Nora's breath caught, looked just like her, flying through the sky with a kite shaped like a bird. The cat darted and danced, utterly silent, her glowing paintbrush drawing stories from the air. Each brushstroke pulsed with color. Not just the kind you see with your eyes, but the kind you feel in your chest. Warm yellows hummed like laughter. Cool blues drifted like yawns. Lavender melted into pink in a way that made Nora's shoulders relax without realizing why. She leaned forward, holding the edge of her cloud seat. The carousel had slowed to a gentle rock, more swing than spin now, like a lullaby winding down. But the sky above was wide awake. Shapes changed and shifted with every blink. A house turned into a cloud, then into a swan. A staircase led to a moon with windows. A violin strung with spider silk played itself as stars gathered around to listen. And in the center of it all was the cat. Graceful, glowing, still invisible in body, but made visible by her work. She looped and leapt, signed her strokes with a three-dot swirl. Her tail curled like a comma at the end of a whispered sentence. Then she paused. She hovered above the carousel, eyes, two gentle glows, settling on Nora. And slowly, as if dipping her brush into the next chapter, she painted a door in the air. It shimmered with light, then swung open wide. Nora rose to her feet. She stepped through. The moment Nora stepped through the door in the air, the world changed. It didn't spin or shake or blur. It simply became something else, as smoothly as slipping into a dream you were already dreaming. She was floating. Not falling, not flying, just gently drifting forward, held up by nothing she could see. Around her swirled clouds shaped like feathers and echoes of music that shimmered in soft pinks and blues. The sky stretched forever in all directions, a great canvas still being painted. Below her, or maybe above, was a winding stream made of silver ribbons. Dream creatures splashed playfully through it. Cloud otters, balloon frogs, and a turtle with a teacup shell. One waved at her with a paw made of stars. And in front of her, tethered to nothing, a kite danced in the air. It was shaped like a bird, its wings trailing long streamers of dream color. Nora felt her feet gently settle onto the kite's back, though it didn't feel like standing, more like belonging. The kite lifted her higher, and her arms stretched out wide. Wind, soft and sweet like lavender and marshmallows, curled around her fingers. She laughed, the sound light as bubbles. Her nightgown fluttered like a sail. The world became a swirl of color, a ride through constellations and candlelit clouds. As she soared, brushstrokes followed her, painted by an invisible paw somewhere just ahead. She was no longer just watching the story. She was in it, and she felt it deep in her chest. This dream wasn't random. It was hers. Somehow, the invisible cat had reached into her quiet heart and painted a journey meant only for her. And the kite knew exactly where it was taking her next. The kite dipped and slowed, gliding toward a patch of sky that shimmered like a mirror made of mist. Nora held her breath, arms tucked close as the air grew still and soft. The clouds parted, and there, floating just ahead, was the invisible cat. This time she wasn't just a shimmer. Her form pulsed gently with outlines of starlight, like a chalk drawing on the wind. You couldn't see fur or whiskers, but you could feel her presence. Soft warmth, purring hush. Two glowing eyes hovered in the sky, gentle and full of ancient kindness. Nora opened her mouth, unsure what to say. But before she could speak, the cat did. Not with words. Not exactly. It was more like a sound tucked behind her thoughts, like someone humming a name you'd always known but forgotten. Whimsy, the voice said. A whisper, a ribbon of meaning. My name is Whimsy. The cat circled Nora slowly, her tail leaving delicate spirals of light behind her. Wherever she moved, color bloomed. Little dream motes floated up around them, blinking like fireflies made of memory. You followed the brush, Whimsy said, voice tickling the inside of Nora's ear like a lullaby. Few ever do. Nora's chest felt warm, her heart beating to the rhythm of the stars. She didn't feel scared. She didn't even feel surprised. It all felt right. Why me? She asked. Whimsy paused in the air, tilting her invisible head. Because your dreams are still listening. A swirl of paint curled around Nora's hands, lifting her gently from the kite and floating her beside the cat. Whimsy flicked her tail, and a new light appeared ahead. Door. Vault. And from within, the soft, sleepy glow of dreams long forgotten. The dream light drifted around Nora like soft snowflakes, each tiny mote glowing with a story not yet told. Whimsy floated ahead, her tail flicking gently, painting the air with a trail that shimmered and dimmed like a song at the edge of sleep. Before them stood a great round door, suspended in mid-air with no walls to hold it. It had no hinges, no handle, just glowing patterns swirling across its surface like ripples in a pond. As Whimsy approached, the patterns responded, blossoming outward in spirals, and the door slowly opened with a deep, cozy sigh. Inside was a vault, but not the kind that held money or gold. It was a vault of forgotten dreams. The space was enormous and round, walls made of soft mist and starlight. Floating shelves spiraled upward endlessly, each holding small glowing jars. Some flickered, some sparkled, some sat perfectly still as if sleeping. Nora stepped forward in awe. Each jar seemed to hum with something unspoken. Whimsy landed beside her, paws making no sound on the invisible floor. These, she said, her voice curling like a breeze through feathers, are dreams that were never finished. Dreams that children forgot too soon. Dreams lost in the rush of waking. Nora leaned close to a jar that held a tiny silver boat bobbing on a lake of tears. Another held a snowman with wings. A third, a child made of sunlight, sitting beside a talking mirror. They're waiting, Whimsy whispered, for someone to remember them. Nora's hand hovered near one jar, feeling the gentle warmth of its story. I used to dream about this, she said softly, not knowing how she knew. Whimsy nodded, her glowing eyes kind. And now, she purred, you'll make one of your own. A pedestal rose from the mist, slow and steady, stopping just before Nora's chest. Resting on it was something glowing faintly, like a spark waiting for breath. It was a brush, small and delicate, with a handle carved from something smooth and warm. The bristles shimmered with every color at once, like the sky before dawn, like the puddles after rain. As Nora reached for it, the colors shifted to match her heartbeat. Whimsy stood beside her, tail curled into a gentle question mark. "This one belongs to you now," she said. Nora hesitated, then wrapped her fingers around the brush. It was weightless, but her chest felt full, as if holding it had awakened something she didn't know had gone quiet. The moment her hand closed, a ripple of color burst from the tip, swirling through the air like a ribbon unrolling from a secret place in her heart. "What do I paint?" Nora asked, voice quiet but steady. "Whatever you feel," Whimsy replied. "Whatever story lives inside you." Nora looked around the vault, at the quiet jars, the sleeping dreams, the hushed shelves stretching into starlight. And then she looked inward, to the soft ache of goodbye, to the thrill of flight, to the warmth of Whimsy's voice, to the quiet hope that someone might one day dream her dream. She dipped the brush into the air. No paint, just feeling. Just color drawn from memory and wonder. And with her first stroke, a shape formed. A dragon. Not a fierce one. A gentle one. Its body was made of quilt patches and lavender smoke, stitched together from every bedtime story she had ever loved. Its eyes blinked slowly, like a friend waking from a nap. Nora smiled. Her dream was beginning. The dragon uncurled slowly, as if it had been waiting a long time to stretch. Its body glowed softly, patchwork scales of velvet and corduroy, old baby blankets and bedtime sweaters. Whims of lace ran along its wings, and smoke in lavender hues drifted gently from its nostrils. It looked at Nora with sleepy eyes full of kindness, eyes that said, "I know you." She hadn't painted it with fear or fire. She hadn't painted it to fly fast or roar loud. This dragon was made for curling up at your feet on stormy nights, for guarding your favorite books, for humming lullabies when you were too old to ask for them but still wanted them just the same. The brush in her hand pulsed, and she painted more. Soft stars drifting behind it, a teacup saddle stitched with dreams, and a ribbon around its neck that read, "Good thoughts only." The dragon gave a slow blink and exhaled a puff of sweet smoke shaped like a moon. Then it stretched its wings, which cracked open like the spine of a well-loved book, and offered her a gentle nod. Nora stepped forward and placed her hand on its nose. Warm, fuzzy, real. Whimsy floated nearby, silent, proud. "Well done," her voice curled through the mist. The dragon knelt, and Nora climbed onto its back, settling into the teacup saddle. As soon as she did, the sky rippled around them, and the brush began to paint again, this time from the dragon's trail. They rose together, a quiet pair against the dreaming vault. Her dragon, her dream, her ride. Behind her, other forgotten dreams stirred softly, awakened by her courage. Ahead of her, the sky opened, waiting, and the dragon flew. Up they soared, Nora and the dream dragon, into a sky that no longer knew where night ended and imagination began. The air shimmered like silk soaked in starlight, and every beat of the dragon's wings sent ripples of light through the sky. Beneath them, the vault faded into a swirl of mist, and the stars above leaned in to listen. Trailing behind her was not just smoke, but painted dreams, dozens of them, bursting gently into being. Each flap of the dragon's wings left behind a trail of floating shapes, dream creatures, stories, and hopes made visible. One glowed into the form of a girl riding a whale through cotton clouds. Another bloomed as a garden of umbrellas, each sprouting like flowers in a sky of rainbows. A third unfolded as a dance of cookies spinning in time to unheard lullabies. Nora laughed, soft and breathless, as more and more dreams drifted free, each one glowing and bobbing in the air like sky lanterns made of memory. They didn't fall. They floated. Some followed the wind. Some hovered above sleeping houses. Others nestled into the corners of clouds, waiting for a sleepy child to wander by. It wasn't just her dream anymore. Her dragon carried her higher, and her brush kept painting, without her thinking, without her trying. It was as though her heart had become its own constellation, and now the stars were drawing from it freely. Whimsy flew quietly beside her, her shape dimming slowly, as if the wind were gently brushing her away. "Dreams shared are dreams remembered," she said, almost lost in the hum of the sky. Nora looked down at the glowing trail they'd left behind, a sky full of wishes, and every one of them had come from her. The sky began to change. Colors softened. The stars dimmed. The edges of clouds blurred into morning light. Far below, rooftops slowly returned. Trees shook off their dream sparkles, and the hush of dawn began to stretch through the world like a sleepy yawn. Nora turned her head just in time to see Whimsy hovering nearby. Barely there now. The outline of her body, once drawn in starlight, now shimmered with fading light, like chalk washed away by wind. Her glowing eyes blinked slowly, gently. The dragon circled lower, quiet as breath, letting Nora float beside Whimsy for one last moment. "You have to go," Nora whispered, her voice smaller now. Whimsy nodded, though her head was little more than a ripple in the sky. "The morning is coming," her voice hummed softly, almost like it came from inside Nora's own heart. "Dreams must rest." Nora's hand reached out instinctively. She didn't want to grab, didn't want to hold, just remember. Her fingers brushed the air where Whimsy's paw hovered. A warmth passed through her. "Will I see you again?" A soft flick of an invisible tail. "Every night," Whimsy said, "as long as you keep dreaming." With one final graceful curl, she lifted a paw and waved. It shimmered once, twice, then dissolved into light. A few sparkles hung in the air, spinning slowly, then faded like candle smoke in the morning sun. Nora didn't cry. She smiled. The dragon let out a puff of lavender smoke, then descended slowly, carrying her back through the parting clouds. Above her, the sky was now pale peach, the stars tucked away. But behind her, a swirl of painted dreams still floated in the air, gentle reminders that the night had been real. And Whimsy had been too. The dragon touched down softly, its quilted wings folding like a cozy blanket. The mist around Nora thickened gently, not in fear or finality, but in comfort, like slipping under covers after a long magical night. She gave the dragon a quiet pat on its velvety side. It purred or maybe hummed, and then gently faded into the mist, leaving behind a curl of lavender-scented air and a soft glimmer where its tail had been. The world spun once, not fast, just enough to tuck her in, and she opened her eyes. She was in bed, her own bed, the blanket still wrapped around her legs, her pillow slightly crumpled beneath her cheek. The curtains stirred in a breeze from the half-open window. Outside, the birds were beginning their slow, sleepy songs. Nora blinked. Once. The room felt the same. Yet, she sat up slowly. Her arms stretched over her head in a sleepy arch, but something sparkled at the edge of her vision. She looked down. Her fingers. They glittered faintly. Just a dusting. Just enough to make her wonder. She rubbed them together and watched as a few motes of color drifted into the air and vanished like soap bubbles. A soft smile spread across her lips. She turned her head, and that's when she saw it. On the corner of her pillow, nestled beside the seam, was a tiny glowing paw print. Faint, fading, but real. Nora touched it gently. It winked once with light, and was gone. She sank back into her pillows, heart full and steady. The sun had not yet fully risen, and for a few more moments, the world was still quiet. But inside her, the dream still glowed. And she knew something important. She hadn't imagined any of it. The house slowly came to life. Somewhere in the kitchen, the creak of floorboards, the distant hum of a kettle. Morning sounds stirred softly around Nora, but she remained curled under her blanket, the hush of dreams still holding her like a warm hand. Her fingers no longer sparkled, but she remembered the feeling. The breeze through her hair as she flew on a kite. The brush in her hand, humming with her heartbeat. The dragon's steady warmth. And Whimsy, always just out of sight, yet as real as breath. Nora turned onto her side, facing the window. Was it all a dream? That was the question that bubbled up now, as it always does after magic folds itself neatly away. The sky outside was ordinary again, painted in plain old morning blue. The rooftops were still. The hedges just hedges. No cloud carousels. No floating pawprints. And yet, her pillow was still a little warm where the glowing print had been. She sat up slowly and looked around her room. Everything was where it should be. The bookshelf, the soft rug, the little lamp with the sleepy fox face. But her eyes paused at the windowsill. There, barely noticeable, was a single glimmer of stardust. Just a few specks, like someone had dipped a tail into the night sky and left a tiny trail behind. She smiled to herself. Soft secret smile. The kind you wear when you know something nobody else does. No one would believe her. She wouldn't try to explain. Because some dreams aren't meant to be told. They're meant to be held. And deep down, under her skin and inside her chest, she knew the truth. The invisible cat was real. And she would be back. That night, Nora climbed into bed a little earlier than usual. She pulled her blanket up to her chin and fluffed her pillow twice. Not because it needed fluffing, but because it felt like part of the ritual now. The stars blinked quietly above her roof, and the window, ever so slightly open, let in the cool, sweet air of nighttime. The room felt peaceful, expectant. Beside her pillow, on the little wooden nightstand, lay something new. Tiny paintbrush. It didn't glow, at least not with light you could see. But it felt warm to the touch, as if it had been left by a friend who would return when the world was sleeping again. Its handle was smooth, its bristles impossibly soft. And every time Nora looked at it, she felt like a story was curling quietly in the corners of her mind. She placed it gently beside her pillow, close enough to reach if needed, just in case. The moonlight crept softly across the floor. Her eyes grew heavy, and as she drifted between waking and sleep, she thought she saw something, just outside the window. Shimmer, swirl, a paw print, floating for only a second before vanishing. Nora smiled, even with her eyes half closed. Whimsy was back. Maybe not to paint tonight, but to watch, to guard, to make sure that the dreams, now blooming gently inside Nora's mind, had enough light and color to grow. The night held its breath. The world curled in. And Nora, the girl who had followed pawprints into the sky, nestled deeper into her blanket. Tomorrow would come. But for now, her dreams waited. And the sky was ready to be painted again.